There are buses that carried generations without fuss, and then there are buses that stirred debate, lawsuits, and even outrage. From bold experiments that promised the future to machines so flawed they nearly bankrupted their makers, America's transit history is full of controversy on wheels. These weren't just buses, they were political statements, engineering gambles, and sometimes disasters in public view. Some looked too radical, others broke down too soon. A few were loved and hated in equal measure. But all of them left a mark that transit riders and mechanics still talk about to this day. Today, we count down the 10 most controversial American buses of all time. Number 1. 1977 GM RTS. By the late 1970s, General Motors was ready to retire its famous new-look fishbowl. That bus had carried America's cities for nearly 20 years, and the company wanted something bold to replace it. What they rolled out in 1977 was called the RTS, Rapid Transit Series. And at first glance, it looked like nothing else on the street. The RTS had sleek, curved sides, modular panels that could be swapped out like puzzle pieces, and a futuristic profile that seemed straight out of a science fiction movie. GM sold it as the bus of the future, promising easier repairs and modern styling that would last into the 21st century. But the reality was more complicated. Those modular body panels corroded quickly in winter climates. Mechanics complained that repairs were harder, not easier. Transit agencies faced higher costs than they had expected, and lawsuits began piling up. For some riders, the RTS was a marvel. For others, it became a symbol of wasted money and corporate overreach. Still, the RTS burned itself into the memory of anyone who rode the bus in the 1980s and 90s. Love it or hate it, this was a machine that truly stirred debate and kept the streets talking for decades. Number 2. 1983. Flexible Metro. When Flexible introduced the Metro in the early 1980s, the company hoped it would be a fresh start. Their older new-look buses had served faithfully, but the market was shifting. The Metro was supposed to be simple, practical, and ready to compete with GM's futuristic RTS. On paper, it seemed like the right move. The Metro kept a straightforward, boxy shape. It was a high-floor bus, easy to build in several lengths, 30, 35, and 40 feet. Transit agencies liked the price, and early orders came in steady. But within a few years, cracks began to show, literally. Many Metros developed structural problems, from frame corrosion to serious stress fractures. Some buses had to be pulled from service long before their time. For mechanics and drivers, the Metro became a mixed blessing. It was familiar, yes, but also frustrating. For passengers, it was just another ride, until one broke down in traffic. Lawsuits and recalls followed, and the damage to Flexible's reputation was severe. By the mid-1990s, the company could no longer survive. The Metro was meant to keep Flexible alive. Instead, it became the bus that pushed the company toward the end of the line. Number 3. 1990s. NABI 416/436 high floor. In the 1990s, a new name appeared on the American transit scene, NABI, short for North American Bus Industries. Their buses came from Hungary based on Ikarus designs, then finished in Alabama to meet Buy America rules. The idea was simple: blend European engineering with American needs. The most common models were the 416, a 40-foot coach, and the 436, a long articulated bus stretching nearly 60 feet. At first, transit agencies liked the price and the high passenger capacity. But the problems showed up quickly. The buses were heavy, thirsty on fuel, and plagued with quality issues. Doors jammed, joints wore out, and rust crept in far sooner than expected. Mechanics often grumbled that these buses felt foreign in every sense, hard to service, hard to keep running. For some cities, the NABI high floors became a burden rather than a solution. They were proof that importing a design doesn't always translate smoothly to American streets. Number 4. 1995 to 2002 Nova Bus RTS. By the mid-1990s, the RTS design was already showing its age. General Motors had moved on, but Nova Bus, a Canadian company, thought they could give it new life. They bought the rights, set up production in the US, and kept the curving space-age profile that made the RTS famous. But the timing could not have been worse. Across the country, transit agencies were shifting to low-floor buses to meet accessibility needs after the Americans with Disabilities Act. The Nova Bus RTS, still high-floor at heart, suddenly looked like yesterday's news. Sales lagged, and even loyal RTS cities began to walk away. Mechanics still liked the familiar design, and passengers recognized the shape instantly. But nostalgia could not save the model. By 2002, production ended quietly, and the RTS story finally came to a close. A legend, yes, but also a reminder that the market waits for no one. Number 5. 1996 Orion VI. In 1996, Orion Bus Industries stepped boldly into the future. Their new Orion VI was one of the very first fully low-floor buses sold in North America. No more steep steps. Passengers in wheelchairs, parents with strollers, and seniors with canes could finally roll or walk straight aboard. And if that wasn't ambitious enough, Orion also offered a hybrid diesel-electric version years before most people had even heard the word hybrid. On paper, it was everything transit agencies wanted: accessibility, modern design, and cleaner technology. But in practice, the Orion VI struggled. The hybrid systems broke down often, batteries failed, and the electronics were unreliable. Even the all-diesel versions suffered from maintenance headaches. Costs piled up, and agencies that had bet big on the new technology were left disappointed. For passengers, the Orion VI could be a revelation, until it was sidelined in the garage again. For mechanics, it was a constant battle with wiring and components that never seemed ready for real-world duty. Still, the Orion VI deserves its place in history. It proved that low-floor buses and hybrid drivetrains were possible in America. But it also showed how painful those first steps could be. Number 6. 1981 Neoplan A440. When Neoplan of Germany opened a factory in Colorado, many thought it was the dawn of a new era. In 1981, their AN440 rolled onto American streets looking nothing like the boxy coaches that had come before. With sharp angles, tall windows, and a European flair, it stood out instantly. To some, it looked like the future of city transit. Transit agencies liked the bold design and the promise of modern construction. The AN440 came in several lengths and configurations, offering more choice than most domestic models. But problems soon overshadowed the promise. Many buses suffered from poor build quality, with cracks, leaks, and structural failures appearing far too soon. Some systems didn't hold up well to American weather or heavy city use. For passengers, the bright interiors and large windows were a refreshing change. But for mechanics and managers, the AN440 became a source of frustration. Today, the Neoplan is remembered with mixed feelings. A daring attempt to bring European style to America, but one that stumbled on reliability. It was a reminder that style alone could not keep a bus on the road. Number 7. 1980 Gillig Phantom. In 1980, while much of the industry was looking toward futuristic shapes and low floors, Gillig went the other way. Their new Phantom was a traditional high-floor bus built strong and square, with a steel frame designed to last. Transit agencies that valued durability and easy maintenance found it appealing, and orders came in steady. Yet the Phantom was controversial for exactly the same reason it was loved. Critics said Gillig was stuck in the past, ignoring the shift toward accessibility and modern design. By the mid-1990s, low-floor buses were becoming the standard, and the Phantom looked more like yesterday's solution. Still, these buses proved themselves on the road. Many ran 20 years or more with little complaint, a testament to Gillig's philosophy of keeping things simple. For some agencies, the Phantom was outdated. For others, it was the most reliable bus they ever bought. Number 8. 1978, Crown Ikarus 286. In the late 1970s, American cities began experimenting with articulated buses, those long, bend-in-the-middle coaches that could carry far more passengers than a standard 40-footer. To answer that demand, Crown Coach of California teamed up with Ikarus of Hungary to build the 286. It looked impressive at nearly 60 feet long, with a Detroit diesel engine in the back and seating for crowds. On paper, it was the perfect answer to growing ridership. In practice, the 286 became a headache. The imported body shells were often rough and poorly finished. The joint in the middle, meant to flex smoothly, wore out quickly under city stress. Mechanics struggled to keep parts in stock, and downtime piled up. Passengers liked the space, but agencies soon realized the cost of keeping these buses on the road outweighed the benefit. Today, the Crown Ikarus 286 is remembered less as a success than as a stepping stone, a flawed experiment that paved the way for the more reliable articulated buses that followed. Number 9. 1970s AM General Metropolitan. Most people know AM General for military trucks and later the Humvee. But in the 1970s, the company tried its hand at city transit with the Metropolitan. It was a boxy, high-floor bus built to compete with GM and Flexible, and for a short time, it looked like a real contender. Transit agencies liked the low price, and the buses did their job well enough in the beginning. But problems appeared quickly. The body panels rusted, the frames showed weakness, and the overall build quality simply didn't match the competition. Mechanics complained the buses felt cheaply made, and riders often noticed the rough ride compared to other coaches. The Metropolitan never found its footing. Production numbers stayed small, and by the end of the decade, AM General had quietly stepped away from the transit market. It was a short-lived experiment that proved building city buses required more than just heavy-duty know-how. Number 10. 1997, NABI LFW. By the late 1990s, the writing was on the wall. Low-floor buses were the future. Wheelchairs, strollers, and seniors needed easier boarding, and the Americans with Disabilities Act had made accessibility the law of the land. Into this moment stepped NABI with their LFW, or low floor model, one of the first of its kind built for American streets. The idea was right. A floor just inches off the ground, wide doors, and a kneeling feature made boarding quicker and easier than ever. For passengers, it felt like a breakthrough. But the first generations of NABI LFWS were plagued with issues. The shells, imported from Hungary, often had poor finishing. Structural cracks appeared, electrical systems failed, and maintenance proved more complicated than agencies expected. Some cities soured on the buses, calling them unreliable. Others stuck with NABI, betting the problems could be fixed. Over time, later models did improve, but the early reputation lingered. Still, the LFW deserves its place in history. It pushed America toward the low-floor standard we take for granted today. Controversial in its day, it showed that change is never smooth, but once it arrives, there's no going back. So there you have it. The machines that divided opinion, drained budgets, and forced cities to rethink what a bus should be. Some were ahead of their time, some were clumsy missteps, and others became cult classics despite their flaws. Together, they tell a story of how American transit has never stood still. It's always been a battlefield of ideas, risks, and bold experiments. How about you? Did you ride any of these buses, maybe as a driver, a mechanic, or just a passenger along for the ride? Share your memories in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. like this video if it brought one back, and subscribe to join us on the next ride through America's transit history.